You take a look at Prop 64, of course. That's the big $64,000 question. How does it benefit or hurt different constituents, like a medical user versus a grower versus a regular user versus a dispensary owner have different, or doctors have different incentives?
Sure. Prop 64 is an incredibly polarizing issue. We have 750 members in the California Growers Association statewide. We are literally split 375 and 386 oppose and for adult use. One of the negative things that we've heard from other states like Colorado and Washington, who have both medical and recreational, is that when recreational comes in, a lot more growers come into the space and they start to kind of dilute the quality of the product a little bit because it's more mass produced. There are a lot of provisions in it that still focus on letting medical maintain. Folks will still get their recommendations from doctors. One thing that a lot of the people on the non-retail side and the cultivators are worried about and nervous about is the Class 5 unlimited grow license. Mega grows, unlimited size square footage grows really represent kind of the tobacco industry or the pharmaceutical industry coming in and really starting to dilute and push the small farmers out. It's very hard to just fully get behind and say that this is going to be perfect for everybody, because it's not. But at the same time, it really is time to end prohibition, and that letting folks out of jail and starting to really make those type of restitutions are the right thing to do, and that will figure out the flaws in some of the regulation as we move forward.
Do you have any idea why folks like you were left out of the legislative process?
Well, a lot of it was because we weren't being proactive. A lot of it was because we were still, up on our hillsides or focused on our businesses. And, for a variety of reasons, we were not very comfortable with moving up into the limelight and having engagements with public officials, because for a long time that was something that was just
it's a different DNA.
It was a tenuous relationship. You've seen in the last couple of years a lot more groups like us spring up. We have a strong member base, and I think it's because people finally do feel comfortable with having these conversations and interacting with the legislature and the regulators and the governor's office. And Governor Brown signing CRSA in last October was a big part of that.
Well, some people said that I just lost my train of thought because I'm fucking stoned.
Well, that's what happens at the end of one of these things,
I hear two thoughts on the law, Proposition 64, if you don't agree with the way it's written. One is, absolutely, it's so bad, vote no. The other one is, vote yes, but it's important to keep folks like you, your association, involved in the process to make sure it's not abused. Absolutely. Your thought?
So, our official policy as a state organization is neutral with reservations, but we absolutely plan to implement and be a huge part of the process, because we know if we look at the other states that have done this, just because you write the law on January 1st and pass that there's years of implementation and of changes and of tweaks and of things that are going to be found to not work. And anyone who wants to be involved in this business should really find an advocacy or a trade group that's local and that they really see that they have a good track record and get involved. You can't just run your business like you have for the last few years. You have to get involved in the process, and advocacy groups and trade organizations are the way to do that. And one of the things that's most kind of heartbreaking for us is when we meet folks who have been doing this for a long time and really want to be involved in the industry, and we ask them what they think about some of the newer changes and what the future looks like, and they're not very informed. Even though we all are super busy and we have to build our businesses and brand and do all of these things now because the wave is coming and there's new capital investment and all this activity, you have to take time to understand the policy that's getting implemented and what's going on and what's happening to your business. And you don't want to stick your head in the sand and just maintain the status quo and do business as usual, because there are a lot of things changing and the time to get on top of it is now.
Just watch one less episode of X Factor or whatever it is.
Yeah, you still watch two, just
about 15 minutes, and then you have something fun to talk about.
Until Westworld is already completely out, and then
democracy is about getting involved, and turn off your reality TV shows and get involved. Remember, they rather you watch the reality TV shows.
Right. No, you got to get involved. You got to understand what's happening. Come down to Meadow. They have tons of great events here.
And meet some very cool people.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very much like the wine industry, but no douchebags.
Yet.
Is there a big difference that you know between a medical cannabis user, somebody who really has a physical addiction, as opposed to one that is more really recreational use?
I think so. What we're starting to see more and more is that the folks using it for medicine, and this is just a generality, are looking at the extracts and the tinctures and the edibles a little bit more. The CBD is definitely more of a medical cannabinoid, and so I think that a lot of the medical users are looking at the whole plant extract side as opposed to the smoking side. That's not to say that a lot of folks don't get pain relief through smoking, but I think that the recreational side is typically a little bit more focused on the smoking and just doing it to have a little bit of fun. And what's interesting and encouraging to see is a lot of doctors getting into the space. So instead of the bud tender being the pharmacist, which is kind of how it's been, somebody walks in and they say, I have this ailment, and the bud tender points out a few things. Doctors are really starting to get involved and look at the neurochemistry and the biology behind different ingestion methods, different types of extract, all these different things to really formulate pain relief regimens for medical patients.
We're not called stoners anymore. What do we call these days?
Yeah, purveyors of fine cannabis, or for myself, I use it for medical purposes quite a bit. I got out of high school and joined the Marine Corps right away, and after 4 years and 2 combat tours, I got back, and the VA really gave us a lot of help in a lot of different ways. But one of the things they also did was prescribe a lot of prescription medication, and in an effort to try to help us heal, they were giving us a lot of Xanax and Zoloft and things that we really felt like was taking our personality away. So cannabis was something that I was able to use to help reanimate into society and move through some of that PTSD without the negative side effects of pharmaceuticals. So I have a really deep, close connection with cannabis and a true love for it, and it's also my business.